The champagne glass shattered against the wall, missing Zainab's head by inches. "Get out!" Alhaja Bello screamed, her gold jewelry jangling as she pointed toward the door. "You think you can trap my son with your village tricks? Get out of my house." Zainab stood there in the borrowed dress she had worn to what was supposed to be her engagement party, her face burning with humiliation as 200 guests stared at her. Her fiancé, Akin, stood silent beside his mother, his eyes on the floor, saying nothing. Absolutely nothing. But 5 years later, when Zainab walked back through those same golden gates, everything had changed. The woman who once threw her out like trash was now standing in line at her office, begging for mercy on an eviction notice. Want to know how a poor village girl became the landlord of her former tormentors? Then stay with me till the end of this story. But first, hit that subscribe button right now and drop a comment saying justice, if you believe what goes around truly comes around. Now let me take you back to where this incredible journey began. Zainab first met Akin at the University of Lagos, where she had earned a scholarship to study economics. She was the only girl from her small village in Kwara State to ever attend university, and she worked 3 part-time jobs to pay for books and accommodation. Akin was everything she was not: wealthy, carefree, driving a Range Rover his parents bought him for his 20th birthday. But despite their different worlds, they fell in love during a group project in their second year. "You're the smartest person I've ever met," Akin told her one evening as they studied together in the library. "You see opportunities where others see problems. You're going to be someone important one day, Zainab. I can feel it." Those words meant everything to her. For 2 years, they dated in secret. Akin said it was because his mother was traditional and would want to be involved in selecting his wife. But Zainab sensed something else: shame. He never introduced her to his friends. He never took her to family events. Their relationship existed only in quiet corners of campus and cheap restaurants far from Ikoyi, where his family lived. When they graduated, Akin finally said the words she had been waiting to hear. "I want to marry you, Zainab. Let me tell my parents." She was nervous but hopeful. Maybe she had been wrong. Maybe he truly loved her enough to stand by her regardless of what his family thought. 2 weeks later, Akin called her. "My mother wants to meet you. There's a small family gathering this Saturday. Can you come?" "A gathering?" "Akin, what kind of gathering?" "Just family and a few friends. Nothing big. Trust me." That Saturday, Zainab borrowed a nice dress from her roommate and took 3 buses to reach the Bello mansion in Ikoyi. When she arrived, her stomach dropped. This was not a small gathering. There were at least 200 people. Women in expensive Asoebi fabrics, men in flowing agbadas, waiters serving champagne and canapes. "Akin, you said this was small," she whispered when she found him. He looked uncomfortable. I know. My mother got carried away. Just smile and be yourself. They'll love you." But they did not love her. The moment Alhaja Bello laid eyes on Zainab, her face twisted with disgust. "Akin, who is this girl? Where are her people?" "Mama, this is Zainab. I told you about her. She's the woman I want to marry." Alhaja Bello's laugh was harsh and mocking. "Marry? This one? Look at her dress. Look at her shoes. Where is she from?" "She's from Kwara State, Mama. She's brilliant. She graduated with first-class honors." "I don't care if she graduated with a doctorate from Harvard. Look at her. She has a village written all over her face." The entire room had gone silent. 200 pairs of eyes were fixed on Zainab, watching her humiliation unfold like entertainment. She felt tears burning behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "Mama, please," Akin said weakly, but his mother was just getting started. "You think I will allow my only son, heir to the Bello group of companies, to marry someone whose father probably rides a bicycle? Someone who has no connections, no family name, no dowry worth mentioning." She turned to Zainab directly. "How much did he pay you? How much did you charge to trap my son?" "I love him," Zainab said quietly, her voice steady despite the trembling in her hands. "I don't want his money. I want him. Love." Alhaja Bello spat the word like poison. "Love does not pay bills. Love does not maintain social status. Love does not build business empires. She grabbed a champagne glass from a passing waiter and flung it at Zainab. Get out! Get out of my house before I call security! Zainab looked at Akin one last time, silently begging him to say something, to do something, to stand up for her the way he had promised. But he just stood there, hands in his pockets, eyes downcast. In that moment, she understood the terrible truth. He had never intended to fight for her. He had brought her to this gathering hoping she would somehow magically win his mother's approval, and when that failed, he was too weak to choose her over his family's wealth and status. "I'll leave," Zainab said, her voice clear and strong. "But remember this moment. Remember this day, because I will never forget it." She walked out of that mansion with her head held high, ignoring the whispers and laughter that followed her. She took 3 buses back to her small room, and when she finally closed the door behind her, she collapsed on the floor and cried until morning. But when the sun rose, something inside her had changed. The pain was still there, but it had transformed into something harder, something fierce. Determination. "They think I'm nothing because I have no money," she whispered to herself. "Then I'll get money. I'll get so much money that they'll choke on their words." She had saved 15,000 naira from her part-time jobs during university. It was supposed to be for emergencies, but this was an emergency of a different kind. She used that money to register a small business, Z Properties. She had no office, no staff, no connections. Just a business card she designed herself and printed at a cybercafe. She started by going to construction sites every morning, talking to contractors, learning about properties being built in areas people considered undesirable. She learned that a new road was being planned in Alhaja, an area most wealthy people ignored because it was too far from Victoria Island. "These people are fools," she told herself. "They don't see what I see." She convinced a contractor to let her market 3 unfinished flats in Alhaja. She walked through markets, bus stops, and offices, talking to young professionals who were priced out of expensive Lagos neighborhoods. Why pay 2 million naira a year in Lekki when you can buy a flat in Alhaja for 12 million and own it forever? In 3 years, this area will triple in value. People laughed at her. "Alhaja? That place is too far. Who wants to live there?" But she was persistent. She found 3 buyers who saw the vision. She earned a small commission, 200,000 naira total. To most people, it was nothing. To her, it was everything. She reinvested every kobo. She found more properties in undervalued areas. She learned how to negotiate with banks for client financing. She learned how to spot properties whose owners needed quick cash and would sell below market value. She worked 18-hour days, slept 4 hours a night, ate 1 meal a day to save money. 6 months later, she had earned 3 million naira in commissions. She took that money and made the boldest move of her life. She bought a half plot of land in an area of Alhaja Bello that people said was too remote. "You're wasting your money," people told her. But Zainab had done her research. She knew that the Lekki Free Trade Zone was expanding, that the new international airport was coming, that the government was planning major infrastructure investments. Within 18 months, her land had quintupled in value. She sold it for 15 million naira and bought 3 more properties in strategic locations. By her 3rd year in business, Z Properties had a small office, 2 staff members, and a growing reputation for identifying the next big areas before anyone else. By year 4, she had bought and flipped 20 properties. By year 5, she owned 42 rental properties across Lagos, had a staff of 15, and was worth over 300 million naira. But she never forgot where she came from. She hired young people from poor backgrounds and trained them. She created a mentorship program for village girls attending Lagos universities. She built a hostel in her home village so girls could attend secondary school without walking 5 kilometers each day. One afternoon, her property manager, Tund, came into her office looking worried. "Madam, we have a situation. You know those 3 luxury flats in Ikoyi you bought last month at the foreclosure auction?" "Yes, what about them?" "The former owners are refusing to vacate. They keep saying they need more time, that they're negotiating with the bank, that we can't force them out." Zainab sighed. "This happens sometimes." "Who are the former owners?" A family named Bello. Alhaja Bello and her son, Akin. Zainab's hand froze halfway to her coffee cup. What did you say? Bello. Alhaja and Akin Bello. They owned the Bello group of companies, but apparently they made some terrible investments and lost everything. The bank foreclosed on multiple properties, including their family mansion in Ikoyi. You bought it at auction. For a long moment Zainab said nothing. Then, slowly, a smile spread across her face. Schedule a meeting. Tell them the new owner wants to discuss the eviction notice personally. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Yes, madam. Should I tell them who you are? No. Let it be a surprise. That night Zainab barely slept. She thought about that day 5 years ago, about standing in that same mansion being humiliated in front of 200 people. She thought about Akin's silence, about Alhaja Bello's cruelty. And now, somehow, impossibly, that mansion was hers. The next morning, she dressed in her finest business suit. A tailored navy ensemble that cost more than she used to earn in a year. She wore the diamond studs she had bought herself as a gift when she made her first 10 million. She looked at herself in the mirror and saw a woman who bore little resemblance to the scared village girl in a borrowed dress. When she arrived at the mansion, her mansion, she parked her Mercedes in the driveway and walked through the front door. Tund met her in the foyer. They're in the sitting room, madam. They seem very nervous. Good. Let them wait 5 more minutes. When she finally entered the sitting room, she saw them immediately. Alhaja Bello sat on the sofa, a shell of her former self. The woman who once dripped with gold jewelry now wore a simple Ankara dress with frayed edges. Her face had aged dramatically, stress and loss etched into every line. And beside her sat Akin, looking equally diminished. His expensive watch was gone. His designer shoes were gone. Even the arrogant confidence that once defined him was gone. They looked up when she entered, and the recognition hit them like a physical blow. Alhaja Bello's mouth fell open. Akin stood up so quickly he knocked over the side table. Zainab? He whispered. Hello, Akin. Hello, Alhaja, Zainab said calmly, sitting in the armchair across from them. I believe you wanted to discuss your eviction notice. You own this property? Alhaja Bello's voice was barely audible. I own this property and 41 others across Lagos. This mansion was sold at a foreclosure auction 3 weeks ago. I was the highest bidder, which means, legally, you are trespassing in my house. Akin sank back onto the sofa, his face pale. Zainab, please. I know what we did to you was wrong. I know my mother was cruel. Zainab interrupted. Was it vicious? Threw a glass at me and told me I was nothing because I came from a village. She turned to Alhaja Bello. You asked me how much your son paid me to trap him. You said love doesn't pay bills, that it doesn't maintain social status. Well, you were right about one thing, love doesn't build empires. But hard work does. Vision does. And the ability to see value where others see nothing does. Alhaja Bello's eyes filled with tears. Please, we have nowhere to go. The bank took everything. Akin lost the company because he made bad investments. We lost all our properties, all our savings. This mansion is the last place we have, but we can't pay the bank anymore. So the bank sold it to me, Zainab said. And now you want me to have mercy? Yes, Alhaja Bello whispered. Please, I am begging you. The way I begged you 5 years ago? Zainab's voice was soft but sharp. When I stood in this very room and told you I loved your son. When you threw me out like garbage in front of 200 people. I was wrong, Alhaja Bello said, tears streaming down her face. I was a foolish, prideful woman who thought money and status were everything. I have paid for that mistake. We have lost everything. My son has not slept properly in months because of stress. We eat 1 meal a day. We have no future. Zainab stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the compound where she had once walked in shame. She thought about her grandmother's words before she left the village. When you gain power, remember how it felt to have none. She took a deep breath and turned back to them. I will make you a deal. Akin looked up, hope flickering in his eyes. What kind of deal? You can stay in this mansion. I will not evict you. Alhaja Bello gasped. Really? Oh, thank you. But, Zainab continued, you will stay as tenants, not owners. You will pay me rent, 200,000 naira per month, which is below market rate for a property this size. You will sign a lease like any other tenant. And there's one more condition. Anything, Akin said quickly. What is it? You both will work for my company. Alhaja, you will manage the front desk at my head office. Akin, you will work in property maintenance, handling repairs and renovations. You will earn a salary, 250,000 naira each per month. Enough to pay rent, buy food, and slowly rebuild your lives. But you will work like everyone else. No special treatment. No privileges. You will arrive at 8 a.m. and leave at 6 p.m. You will answer my managers. You will learn what it means to work for your money instead of inheriting it. Alhaja Bello stared at her in disbelief. You want me to work as a receptionist? I want you to work, period. I want you to understand what millions of Nigerians do every single day. Wake up early, work hard, and earn their dignity through effort, not through family name or inherited wealth. This is my offer. Take it or leave it, but you have 24 hours to decide. If you refuse, the eviction notice stands and you will be removed by security next week. Akin stood up slowly. Zainab, I know I don't deserve your mercy. I should have defended you that day. I should have stood up to my mother. I was a coward, and I've regretted it every single day since. You're right, Zainab said simply. You were a coward. But I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it because I refuse to become the kind of person your mother was. Someone who uses power to crush others instead of lifting them up. I built my success on giving opportunities to people others rejected. I'm not going to stop now just because you're the ones who need the opportunity. She walked toward the door, then paused and looked back. My grandmother used to say that life is a wheel. Sometimes you're at the top, sometimes at the bottom. The question is what kind of person you are when you're at the top. 5 years ago, your mother showed me who she was. Today, I'm showing you who I am. The difference is, when you're at my front desk, you'll watch me treat every visitor with respect regardless of where they come from. You'll see me hire village girls and train them for management positions. You'll witness what real wealth looks like. Not gold jewelry and expensive cars, but the ability to change lives. She left them sitting in stunned silence. The next day, Tund called her. Madam, the Bellos have accepted your offer. They signed the lease agreement and will start work on Monday. Good, Zainab said. Make sure they're treated exactly like any other employee. No better, no worse. Yes, madam. But can I ask you something? What? Why are you helping them after what they did to you? Zainab smiled. Because revenge is easy, Tund. Any fool with power can destroy someone who wronged them. But transformation, that's hard. That requires you to be bigger than your pain. I could have thrown them out and felt satisfied for maybe a week. But this way, every day they work for me, they'll remember that the village girl they rejected is the reason they have food to eat. Every day they see me build my empire with integrity, they'll understand what true success looks like. That's not revenge. That's education. 6 months later, Zainab was in her office when Tund knocked on her door. Madam, Alhaja Bello is asking if she can speak with you. About what? She didn't say. She just asked if you have 5 minutes. Zainab was surprised. In 6 months, Alhaja had done her work quietly and professionally but had never asked for a personal meeting. Send her in. Alhaja Bello entered looking different than she had 6 months ago. She stood straighter. Her clothes were simple but clean and pressed. There was something in her eyes that hadn't been there before, humility, yes, but also purpose. Thank you for seeing me, madam, she said formally. What do you need, Alhaja? I wanted to thank you, not just for giving us a place to stay or for jobs, but for teaching me something I should have learned years ago. Which is that a person's worth has nothing to do with where they come from or how much money they have. I have been at that front desk for 6 months watching you run your company. I've seen you hire people others rejected. I've seen you mentor young women with no connections. I've watched you treat the security guard with the same respect you show visiting CEOs. And I realized something. I spent 50 years of my life valuing all the wrong things. She took a breath, her eyes glistening. I destroyed my son's chance at real love because I was too proud to accept that a village girl could be worthy of him. And in doing so, I destroyed our family. Akin's marriage to that society girl I chose for him lasted 2 years before she divorced him and took half his money. The business connections I thought were so valuable disappeared the moment we lost our wealth. Everything I thought mattered turned out to be worthless. And the one thing I rejected, your character, your work ethic, your integrity, that was what actually had value. Zainab felt her throat tighten. Why are you telling me this? Because I wanted you to know that your mercy changed me. I am not the woman I was 5 years ago. And I wanted to apologize properly for what I did to you. Tears rolled down Alhaja Bello's cheeks. I am deeply, truly sorry for how I treated you. You deserved better. And if I could go back and change that day, I would. But I can't. So all I can do is try to be better now. For a long moment, Zainab said nothing. Then she stood up and walked around her desk. Alhaja, do you know why I really offered you that job? To teach me a lesson? Partly. But also because I saw something of my own mother in you. She died when I was young. But she taught me that people can change. Those mistakes, no matter how terrible, don't have to define us forever. When I looked at you 6 months ago, I saw a woman who had lost everything because she valued all the wrong things. And I thought maybe she can learn. Maybe she can become someone different. Have I? Alhaja asked quietly. Have I changed? You're asking the question. That's already proof enough. Zainab extended her hand. I forgive you, Alhaja. Not because you deserve it, but because holding on to anger was destroying me. I built this empire to prove I was worthy of respect, but somewhere along the way, I realized I didn't need anyone's validation. I was always worthy. I just needed to believe it myself. Alhaja took her hand, tears flowing freely now. Thank you. Thank you for being a better person than I ever was. After Alhaja left, Zainab sat alone in her office looking at the city skyline through her window. She thought about that terrified village girl who had taken 3 buses to an engagement party that turned into her worst nightmare. She thought about the 5 years of brutal work, sleepless nights, and relentless determination that had brought her here. She had proven everyone wrong. She had built an empire from 15,000 naira and a refusal to accept that her value was determined by anyone other than herself. But more importantly, she had done it without becoming cruel, without letting bitterness poison her success, without using her power to crush those who had once crushed her. That day in Alhaja Bello's mansion, she had been told that love doesn't pay bills, that status matters more than character, that her village background made her worthless. Today, she owned that mansion and 41 others. She employed over 100 people. She had changed more lives than she could count. And she had done it all while staying true to the values her grandmother taught her in that small village in Kwara State. 2 years later, Zainab stood in front of 200 young women at a conference she had organized for female entrepreneurs from low-income backgrounds. As she looked out at their faces, hopeful, scared, determined, she saw herself 10 years ago. They will tell you that you're nothing because you come from nowhere, she said, her voice steady and strong. They will say you don't have the right background, the right connections, the right resources. They will measure your worth by your bank account and find you lacking. But I'm here to tell you something different. Your worth is not determined by where you started. It's determined by how hard you work, how clearly you see opportunities others miss, and how you treat people when you finally succeed. She paused, thinking of Alhaja Bello, who now managed 3 of her properties and had become one of her most trusted employees. Thinking of Akin, who had apologized 100 times and was slowly rebuilding his life with genuine humility. Thinking of all the people who had doubted her and the ones who had believed in her. Success is not just about accumulating wealth. It's about who you become in the process of building it. And when you finally make it, when you own the buildings that once wouldn't let you through the door, remember to be better than the people who rejected you. Remember to open doors instead of slamming them shut. Remember that true power is not the ability to destroy others, but the ability to lift them up even when they don't deserve it. The room erupted in applause. As Zainab smiled at the crowd, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Complete peace. She had won, not by destroying her enemies, but by refusing to become like them. And in the end, that was the greatest victory of all. Before we end this powerful story, I need you to do 3 things right now. First, hit that like button if this story touched your heart. Second, subscribe to this channel because we bring you real stories about real transformations that remind us what truly matters in life. And third, leave a comment telling me, what would you have done in Zainab's position? Would you have shown mercy or chosen revenge? Drop your thoughts below because I read every single comment. Remember, your worth is not determined by what others think of you. It's determined by what you think of yourself and how you treat others when you finally have the power to do anything. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story. Stay blessed.